My first Movie Master review is brought to you by Paramount Studios, and what am I doing the first Movie Master review on? None other than Friday the 13th. Now, which one am I doing? Because I'm not doing the first one. Part 2! Now, the reason why I decided to start with the Friday the 13th series is because I love Friday the 13th, and I didn't start with the first one because I really like Jason. I thought he was a better person to carry on the Friday the 13th series. I thought it was great that they started off with Mrs. Voorhees, but I really liked Jason as the main villain in the whole series. Victor Miller, I know he wasn't overly thrilled when they decided to have Jason as the main villain rather than his mother. I don't think Victor Miller wanted any sequels to Friday the 13th. Understandable. But I really liked the series that came after with Jason being the villain in all of the films and comics and books that preceded it. And here we see Alice recapping of her post-traumatic stress, obviously, from dealing with Mrs. Voorhees. Adrienne King decided not to come back, and hence why her character was killed off. Same, and Crazy Ralph's character was also killed off, so no one survived part 1. And then we see the new camp counselors, discovering Camp Crystal Lake isn't too far away. I have to wonder if Jason put that there on purpose. And then we see Paul introducing pretty much Jason's victims. Everyone else manages to live, because we don't hear what their names are, and you never find out anything else. Famous scene right here. This is in part 4 for a recap. I really like this scene, just because it does follow through with the other Friday the 13th. Camp Crystal Lake counselor, or the other camp's counselors start to get curious about Crystal Lake. They go over, of course, they get caught by the cop, and said, oh, yes, this film contains nudity, sex, and, of course, Mr. J, Jason. And then we have the cop discovering that where Jason has been all this time, and obviously he's shocked and horrified, but doesn't get to tell the tale. Then we have the counselors starting to be killed off one by one. We never see what happens to Terry. This is a famous kill in all the Friday the 13th series. It's on a lot of lists on YouTube for infamous kills. I think this one I've seen the most, just because it's almost iconic for Jason. And it also shows he's kind of not discriminating against anybody. He'll kill just about anyone as long as they're in his territory. And we see the two lovebirds getting the spear through them, which almost had the film get an X rating if they had kept it. Mind you, it's on the back of the VHS copies. This scene, I remember being a kid and actually asking my dad, well, why didn't she run for it? And he really couldn't answer me because she seemed to have enough time to get out of the room to run down the stairs. But I guess she was just frozen in shock. And then we see Muffin. Muffin. I love how Kane Hodder pretty much put the rule that Jason doesn't kill animals. Even though it's implied through the rest of the series, he actually does state it. Jason just doesn't kill animals. And we see Jason looking for Ginny, who may or may not be the only survivor in part 2. It really doesn't state what happens to Paul. It does state what happened to Ginny, but not with Paul. So you're left wondering. And then we see Ginny playing on Jason's psychosis, because Jason almost has a childlike persona to him in that, and he's very much in love with his mother. we see Paul coming in and attacking Jason to get away from Ginny. Amy Steele actually cut um, Steve Dash's finger during this scene. I thought Steve Dash made a great Jason. Amy Steele did an awesome job as Ginny. I thought that this was a perfect way to start the series with Jason. Obviously, this was not the start of the series, but I thought it was a great start to the series. All the characters, even the victims, did a great job here. I'm grateful the burlap sack left. Very grateful about that. I'm grateful that they were able to come up with a great idea with the hockey mask in the next film. Overall, for the Friday the 13th series, great script, great acting. Everyone did a great job. Steve Dash did a great job of being a good sport about having his finger cut during his scene as Jason, as Amy Steele nearly hacked off with the machete. But yeah, I thought it was a great start to the series, and I'm grateful for all the movies that came afterwards. Overall, this film, I say, gets a 4 out of 5 VHSs, just for the simple fact it loses one, because I didn't like how they had no survivors from part 1, and I really would have liked it had they had not killed off at least Crazy Ralph. They could have brought him back for a few more movies to come. And we don't find out what happens to Paul, but Ginny is safely ridden away, and that's that. Thanks! See you next time.